Welcome everybody, Film Fan 108 here, and I wanted to talk to you guys about MoviePass. Now, the last time I talked about MoviePass was back in May when I did the MoviePass Has It Been Worth It video, and I talked about some of the minor issues that were going on with MoviePass at that point, but I also talked about a lot of the benefits, and I talked about how I still thought it was a worthwhile deal for your money. I thought that it was still a great service for movie lovers, and I definitely did encourage you guys to stick with the service, subscribe to it, and I was still a big fan and somebody who was still a big cheerleader at that point. But so many months later, there's been so many frustrations, controversies, issues, dilemmas regarding MoviePass, and it's upset a lot of people. People have ended up leaving the service, moved on to other things, and I wanted to take the time to get into some of those issues and frustrations and whether or not it is still worth it for your money. So let's get into it and deal with all of the issues that MoviePass has been having over these past few months. All right, let's get into it, guys. So the first thing to talk about is actually a dilemma that MoviePass has been dealing with for a while, and that is the abuse of service. Now, the first way they tried to combat this was to do the ticket verification. Now, basically what you would do was you would take a picture of your ticket stub and you would end up sending that picture to MoviePass, and that would inform MoviePass that you ended up going to that certain movie at that certain time at that certain theater, and they would basically confirm that, and then you would be on your way, you'd be set. Now, I never had any issues with the ticket verification, but I know that certain people did. I know that certain people took a picture and sent it off to MoviePass and they didn't get it, and then those people threw away the movie ticket, and then they had to explain to MoviePass, oh, I know I did go to see it, but I no longer have my ticket, and it was a whole frustration with people. But honestly, guys, that was small potatoes compared to what we would get, which is peak pricing. Peak pricing. Oh boy. So basically, we entered into the summer, and entering into the summer meant summer blockbusters. Things like The Avengers, things like Mission Impossible, The Incredibles 2, all these big movies people wanted to see, and sometimes they wanted to see it 3, 4, maybe 5 times. And MoviePass kind of gets freaked out. They're like, oh my god, what are we going to do? People want to see this stuff, a ton of times on the MoviePass card. How are we going to curb this? How are we going to slow it down? And that's where peak pricing comes in. Now, peak pricing could have been anywhere from $2 to even as astronomical as $6 or $8 per visit if you were going to see a really popular movie, or if MoviePass deemed that movie to be really popular at that particular time. You'd go on the MoviePass app, and basically there would be sort of this lightning bolt right next to the movie time that you wanted to go to. You would hit at that movie time, and it would tell you the price that you would pay to go see that movie at that particular time. Now, this frustrated, this angered, this confused people because a lot of times you would go to the movie and MoviePass would say that this movie is popular at this particular moment in time. Let's say you're going on a Wednesday at 2 p.m. MoviePass deems that to be a very popular time for a very popular movie. So it says, well, you're going to pay $4 or $5, maybe even more, for that ticket, upon also, of course, us paying for the ticket itself, MoviePass. You would get into the movie theater, and suddenly you would look around and you'd be like, wait a minute, this is empty. And I saw a lot of people on forums taking pictures of the movie theater and barely anybody in them, and yet MoviePass says that that is actually a popular time for that movie, and that you need to pay a certain amount of money extra for that. I don't get it. I don't get it. It confused me, and I know it confused and angered a lot of you out there. And I got a lot of messages and a lot of people talking to me about it and telling me about it, and I feel it. Look, I dealt with the same thing. There were times I saw things like Mamma Mia and other movies that you would have to pay $6 to $8, almost a full ticket for a movie, on top of paying for your subscription to MoviePass. And I never fully understood it. I never fully got it, and it was always something that I always scratched my head about because, again, you're it's almost like you're punishing your subscribers, right? At least it felt that way to me. And so peak pricing went on for a long while, and people were still going to the movies, and talk about a lot of patience that subscribers had at that point, because even though there was peak pricing, a lot of subscribers still felt like, you know what, yes, I'm frustrated, but you know what, I understand this. They're trying to curb stuff. I'm going to go with this. I'm going to deal with it. It's still worthwhile. We're still on board at that point, right? We're still on board. And then something happens the week that Mission Impossible Fallout comes out. And I experienced it along with you guys. And I actually filmed a video with Bob talking about our frustration that night. So we are trying to see Mission Impossible Fallout, and we can't see it tonight because basically MoviePass has this major glitch right now.
Tried it, what, just 4 or 5 times each?
4 or 5 times, and there's this big error that's going on. You cannot even get any tickets through MoviePass, nothing.
We had this problem last week, too.
It's a fucking clusterfuck, and the whole reason why I think this is happening, and you think so too.
We didn't get this problem when we had before peak pricing started.
Peak pricing, once peak pricing has started, this whole issue with MoviePass now, and it's suddenly sometimes working and sometimes not working. And even if we were to have gotten the tickets, guys, the peak pricing for this movie on a Thursday night was how much?
$6.
$6, guys. That's fucking ridiculous. $6.
I started MoviePass to save money. I mean, I'm basically almost paying the full price for a movie now.
Exactly. Now,
I understand.
I mean, it's still a great deal, don't get me wrong, guys, it still is, but I'm telling you something right now, this upsets me. This upsets me, the fact that we have to pay an extra $6 for peak pricing, $3, fine, whatever, but $6, not only that, but the fact that the app isn't even fucking working. It's not even fucking working.
They're working on it. I'm like, should we have the bugs fixed out, or at least the majority of them fixed out?
It's really frustrating. Last week was really frustrating, and I barely got to the...
I had to pay full price for my ticket.
And I barely got contact with somebody through MoviePass. I was really upset.
She got contact, but we texted me back at home.
I know, it's fucking ridiculous, guys. Let me know if you guys have had problems with the MoviePass thing. I still love it. I still think MoviePass is great. But it's just, it's...
If I'm going to be paying full prices for a ticket, what's the point of having this thing?
I agree. It's fucking ridiculous, guys. Definitely let us know. But we're not seeing Mission Impossible Fallout tonight. Unfortunately, it's just not going to happen. Sorry, but we were going to do a review.
Let's not spend more.
I know, guys. Definitely let us know. Unfortunately, we ain't seeing shit tonight. So, we could not see Mission Impossible that night. And, in fact, we were not the only ones, because there were many, many people who not only couldn't see Mission Impossible that night, but couldn't basically see anything that night under MoviePass. The reason being was because MoviePass ran out of money. Okay, the service was dead. The service was completely dead, and they needed to borrow $5 million in order to keep the lights on. Now, you can only imagine that for a number of people, subscribers to the service, myself included, that basically we were frustrated that night, couldn't see anything, and yeah, we could have paid our money, but you have this service for a reason, right? You want to use it. And then upon hearing that basically they had to borrow $5 million, that was just another shocker of just complete and utter just confusion and frustration of just like, how could this have happened? How could they have basically just completely just lost all of this amount of money? Weren't they prepared for this? All of this. I mean, there were so many questions and honestly no answers. And MoviePass wasn't putting any kind of explanation out there, and it was just really frustrating on all accounts from a lot of people. And not only did that go on, but also the stock completely plummeted. Helios and Matheson, the stock just basically plummeted to the ground. And a lot of people who, of course, were subscribers also ended up putting some of their money into Helios and Matheson, and of course that completely tanked. And now I think it's trading at about a penny, maybe a little bit more. But yeah, it completely plummeted rock bottom. So all of this is going on. They ended up borrowing the $5 million to turn the lights back on. Eventually, they explained that they paid that back and they're all set. Everything's all good with MoviePass, right? So we should go back to the same service that we have been getting, right? Well, no, not exactly. Because then MoviePass limits people to 2 movie selections per day. It didn't matter what it was. It could have been any 2 movies. They choose the movie, and then that happens, right? They're like, okay, we're going to choose this, and this is what goes on. And that frustrated a lot of people because they're like, so wait a minute, we're again being punished as subscribers because of MoviePass, their incompetence, right? We're getting punished. And that also meant that certain popular movies that came out at certain weekends were not available through MoviePass. They were just completely unavailable. The service wouldn't even accept it. And I dealt with that basically with Christopher Robin, going and seeing that, and my frustration clearly showed. Trust me, guys, it clearly did. I'm on the app, and it says for Christopher Robin here that this premium screening is not supported. Okay, it's not supported. Are you kidding me? Now, let me make myself very clear. I still like MoviePass. I still think it's a great deal, but I can't even see a movie anymore. It's just not supported. It's just, I mean, come on, guys, it's ridiculous now. Now you literally, there's so many movies now that you can't see. Now I understand that this is a new release movie. I understand that it just came out, and I get that it's going to be a popular movie, and I get that MoviePass probably doesn't want a lot of people to use it because they're going to have to pay out a lot of money, but that's what this card is for. Okay, that's what this card is for. The fact that we cannot get tickets really ticks me off, guys. It really gets to me in a big bad way. Now, I just heard that MoviePass was going to up their subscription service from like $9.95 to like $14.95. Fine, I'm cool with that. I don't care. Do another service. If people want to see movies that first weekend, then charge $20, $25, whatever. I'll pay it. I don't care. I like going to movies that week that they come out. The fact that I gotta wait probably 2 weeks in order to use the MoviePass is ridiculous. I'm telling you right now, that really ticks me off, and this is why they're most likely going out of business, because they just can't. They keep on screwing with the customers. They keep on changing the rules, and this is really upsetting me, and I know it's upsetting a lot of you guys too. That really angered and frustrated me, guys, and I know that angered a lot of you as well, because you want to go to the movies and you want to experience these newer films, and MoviePass says, hey, we don't want you to see those movies. We want you to see these movies, and those are the only movies that are going to be available for you to see. it feels frustrating. You feel like your hands are bound, that you have no control. You can't do anything about it. And this was a common trend because MoviePass ended up basically limiting newer movies for 2 weeks. That you couldn't see those newer movies for a 2 week period, and after that time, then those movies would become available. But at that point, newer movies come out and you want to see those movies as well, and then you had to wait another 2 weeks, and it just was a complete frustration that MoviePass just was offering people. And I think at that point, guys, I think people really were just beyond frustrated at that point. I think it had been boiling, whether it was the interruptions in service, whether it was the peak pricing, whether it was the limited movies. It just came to a boiling point, and in a big bad way. And that's when other services became available. AMC ended up introducing their subscription service called AMC AList. And AList is basically $20 a month, and you get to see 3 movies a week. Now it's an unlimited selection of movies, and I know a lot of people ended up being very curious about that service and trying it out, and a lot of people have ended up enjoying the service. Now, a lot of people have come to me and said, hey, you should try AMC A-List. Guys, look, I would love to try AMC A-List. I really would. But there are no AMC theaters near me, not even remotely close at all, and I'm just shit out of luck. There's no real way for me to ever do AMC A-List unless they come to my area. And look, I know a lot of people have left the MoviePass service and have done AMC A-List, and are you guys wrong for doing that? No, you're not wrong. I completely understand why you guys did it, and if you did, you're not at fault. Because MoviePass has been frustrating people for so long that AMC put this out, and people ended up saying, hey, if this is a better option, this is a better service, and I'll go to AMC theaters and enjoy my movies, and, goodbye MoviePass. I mean, I can't blame you guys. I can't. And, when AMC A-List came out, MoviePass basically badmouthed it on Twitter and on social media, and that's just a shitty move. That really is. And unfortunately, MoviePass has never learned from their lessons. Unfortunately, they really haven't. And it really is frustrating to me because I feel like AMC could learn from these other places and do a better subscription service. In fact, I've always said I don't understand why MoviePass doesn't do that. Why they don't do another tier of service, and I even said it in the MoviePass Has It Been Worth It video. They should do a higher service where maybe you're paying $30 or $35 a month, but you're getting an unlimited selection of movies, maybe 3 to 5 movies a month, an unlimited selection. And I think people would be a little frustrated by the price point, but I feel like people would welcome it as well. Again, you would think they would do that, but they haven't learned from their lessons, and that's a real shame. And again, people have really been enjoying AMC A-List, so, will MoviePass change the way they're doing it? Maybe, but I kind of doubt it. And even now, MoviePass has changed their subscription service. Now, they have moved on to 3 movies a month for $10 a month. Now, they were going to up it to 15, but that all changed, and they still ended up having the price at $10. Fine, whatever. But the 3 movies a month, so basically, it is not an unlimited selection. You can't pick any movie you want. MoviePass still picks and chooses what movies you actually get to see. And the service, actually, because I'll even show you guys, because on the MoviePass app here, so it comes up here, right? And if you pick a theater, I'll just pick one theater, you only have, I at least, have only two selections of movies to choose from. There's another movie, but it's not supported through MoviePass. So, yeah. So you don't even get that anymore. You get a very limited number of movies to even check out. And after you see the 3 movies a month, you can still get movies through the MoviePass app, but what happens is that you will get a discount of either $2 to $5 depending on the movie. Look, I understand why MoviePass is doing this. They want to curb the bleeding. They want to curb the blow to losing a lot of money. Look, they're a company. They're trying to save money. I get it. But again, you're still screwing over your subscribers by limiting the amount of movies, to not really give them a selection, to basically sometimes even change up the movie times. Because if you check MoviePass in the morning, you might see movies that are available, and then when you check back in the later afternoon, those movies might be gone. So you can't even get the same selection even on the same day. It's really gotten to a point where people are just really frustrated and angered and just confused why this is all going on. And Mitch Lowe and the people over at MoviePass have tried to be more transparent, tried to do more emails telling subscribers what's going on, but honestly, guys, it's too little too late. It really is. And a lot of people have moved on, and I can't blame them. And there's other services that are going on. I said the AMC AList, but Cinemia is still doing their stuff. In fact, they just introduced a unlimited plan that there's an unlimited selection of movies. You can see any movie you want over the course of a month, I believe, for $30. But I have heard mixed things about Cinemia. Some people say that the app is incredibly tough to use, terrible, and there's a lot of hidden fees that go on with Cinemia. I've heard certain things. I don't know if Cinemia is really up my alley. And, there's a lot of other things going on. I mean, I've heard rumblings about Regal maybe doing that as well. There's a lot of issues that have been going on with MoviePass, and I think a lot of these other subscription services are trying to do their best to capitalize on it, and I can't blame them, guys. And on top of all that, guys, there's even more frustrations with MoviePass because basically when the new plan switched over, monthly subscribers like myself ended up getting turned over to the new plan that next month, which we got an email about it. Fine, whatever. I get it. For annual subscribers, for yearly people who bought a whole year's worth of MoviePass, they got switched over to the plan as well. Now, I really feel for you guys who are yearly subscribers because you got sold a bill of goods that now is no longer available to you. It's completely changed. So you got lied, you got cheated to, you got robbed, and I feel for you guys. And there's been a lot of blowback from those yearly subscribers to MoviePass. They have wrote angry, comments to them and have tried to reach out to them, but they still got switched over. If you buy a year's worth of MoviePass under the old plan, you should be able to still keep that until that year is up, and then if you want to re-up with MoviePass, then you go over to the new plan. But unfortunately, they got switched over as well. And also, people who ended up wanting to cancel their service from MoviePass, they ended up trying to cancel it, and then at the end of that month, they would no longer pay for MoviePass, and it would be done with. Well, that didn't even happen because MoviePass ended up re-upping their service, and so they got charged for another month of MoviePass when they wanted to cancel it. Guys, there's been so much shady stuff going on with MoviePass as of late, and unfortunately, we haven't gotten a lot of great communication from Mitch Lowe and from the MoviePass people in general. They are trying, but it's honestly too little too late, guys. It really is. It's just, there's so much that has went on in the past few months that I think people are just completely fed up and they're just done. And I can't blame them. I really honestly can't. And who knows if MoviePass is even going to survive really past this year, because the stock, Helios and Matheson, again, is trading like towards a penny or less. MoviePass still says that they have 3 million subscribers, but I think that is a blatant lie. I think it's way less now. I don't know if people are really going to support this anymore. They've moved on to other subscription services. Look, at the end of the day, I think that the history of MoviePass is that it opened the doors for other subscription services and for other great plans to become available, and they opened the door for people. And I think that will always be the legacy of MoviePass, but I don't know if they're going to survive, guys. It's just, right now, there's so much shadiness going on, and I think people are just leaving in droves. For me, I'm sticking around because, look, I'm going to see this through. There's not really any other options that are really available for me to try right now, unless sort of Regal comes in and sort of does their own thing. Honestly, guys, to me, this has just been one clusterfuck after another. And, it really does show that MoviePass really doesn't know what they're doing at the end of the day. Now, is this service still worth it? That's up to each of you guys. I can't really answer that. That's up to the individual person. But would I recommend it to you guys? No, I wouldn't. If I had to do it all over again, I would probably not recommend it to you guys. The service has changed so much and has limited people so much that I just don't think it's worth you as a movie fan and a movie lover anymore. I just don't think it is. Unless they do something different, and I hope MoviePass does. I hope they learn from their lessons, but until they do, this is not a worthwhile service anymore. I just don't think it is. But definitely let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about MoviePass, your experiences, the frustrations, where you think MoviePass will go next, the future of this subscription service. Definitely let me know all of your thoughts. I definitely am interested to know. And I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, definitely give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. Check out the other videos that I do, the out and about videos, the Blu-ray pickup videos, the movie review videos that I do with my friends every single week. Definitely check all those out. And if you love what you see and are a lover of movies and physical media, hit subscribe and be a part of the Film Fan Nation. I have a passion and a love talking about movies, even movie subscription services that are not that great anymore. I love talking about movies in general. It's a passion. What can I tell you? And if you love what I talk about, definitely subscribe to the channel. And, yeah, guys, I'm sticking around with MoviePass. Hopefully it gets better. If not, well, I may be back with another video talking about the downfall of MoviePass. Until then, guys, enjoy the movies, and I will see you later for another video. Take care, guys.